driving forward. You think they're just going to give us our country back? You think they're just going to roll over, move out of the way, stop their scheming and their lying? Or do you think we are going to have to be on top of it every single day, focused every single day, driving forward every single day with unrelenting focus and passion? Because God gave us this country. Our founding fathers fought and died for this country. Generations of Americans have sacrificed and bled for this country, and we are not going to let the radical left, the communists, and the America haters take our country. It's not going to happen.
So Stephen Miller only wants white people in America. Are we shocked? The crazy part is everybody knew this man was a white Christian nationalist, and you let him in. He's even more far right and more far white than Donald Trump. Trump even recognized his obsession when it came to immigrants. Stephen Miller said if it was up to him, only 100 million people would be in the country. That is only white people. White people only.
This message goes to all the maggots, all these fucking Trump supporters. Do you know who Stephen Miller is? I'm gonna tell you a little bit. Son of an immigrant, son of a Jewish immigrant. Yet, he's racist, misogynist, classist. He's the one responsible for bankrolling everything Donald Trump is doing.
We have some big news right now. According to the Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump previously said that if it was up to Stephen Miller, his White House deputy chief of staff, there would only be 100 million people in the United States of America, and they would all look like Miller. Miller is a white guy. In this new explosive report from the Wall Street Journal, it cites a number of White House colleagues of Miller's who are becoming increasingly alarmed at the legal maneuvers he is taking to conduct mass deportation efforts. And Donald Trump himself, according to the Journal, has even ribbed Miller for being, quote, too happy when deporting undocumented migrants from America. But I want you to read this passage with me. He has the president's complete trust. Trump's complained about everyone, never him. Trump may not complain about Mr. Miller, but he does occasionally poke at his obsession with immigrants, a hostility that goes far beyond Mr. Trump's. In one meeting during the 2024 campaign, Trump said that if it was up to Miller, there would be only 100 million people in this country, and they would all look like Miller.
When you take into account all the terrible things that have happened in this regime, Stephen Miller's fingerprints are all over that regime and all across the Republican Party. For all intents and purposes, Stephen Miller is now one of the key masterminds in where the Republican Party is and where it is going to be in the future.
Hello lovelies, welcome back to today's episode. When you hear about Stephen Miller, you hear that he's a spokesperson of DT and he's the one who is in charge of all these migration policies or those Project 2025. A lot of people are talking about this man after recent posts saying if it was for him, he would make sure for America to have at least 100 millions of people looking like him, means as a white person. If it was in his power, he would try his best level to make America only white people to stay there. Imagine in this century someone would think in that way. No wonder some people are saying, no wonder we are seeing, according to him, he kept saying, I want to enforce ICE at least to deport 3,000 people a day. Now see the meaning of each and everything.
Stephen Miller didn't just write a plan. He wrote a revenge fantasy. Project 2025 is not about leadership. It's about complete domination. It offers one simple bargain. Obey and you'll be protected. Disobey and you'll be erased. For a lot of people raised in authoritarian homes, communities, or churches, this isn't dystopian. It's not 1984 or Brave New World. This is business as usual, just lived experience. The voice that says you're safe if you submit sounds just like the one that they grew up with. And Miller knows that. He may not be a genius, but he's clever and cruel enough to know that the authoritarian bite matches the wound. And he is cruel enough to weaponize that wound. And the people clinging to that paradigm, they're not stupid. They're scared because they were taught that safety always comes with strings attached. And Miller, he's just the one who's now holding the scissors.
So Stephen Miller only wants white people in America. Are we shocked? The crazy part is everybody knew this man was a white Christian nationalist, and you let him in. He's even more far right and more far white than Donald Trump. Trump even recognized his obsession when it came to immigrants. Stephen Miller said if it was up to him, only 100 million people would be in the country. That is only white people. White people only. Yeah, Project 2025 is looking real fucking real now, ain't it? I wonder who's really running the White House now. Because Trump said that he wasn't going to fuck with farms and hotel workers. But he's in that ass now. And I don't think it was him. For once, I didn't even think it was him. For all you non-white people that voted for Trump, how do you feel now that they're trying to ethnically cleanse us out of the fucking United States? I mean, it's going to be real hard to get rid of black folks because, you know, African Americans in particular, because we ain't got nowhere to go but here. But for everybody else, how the fuck do y'all feel now?
You ever wonder what happens when a high school troll grows up and gets access to federal power? You get Stephen Miller. And this man didn't just whisper in Trump's ear, he wrote the whole damn playbook. Stephen Miller isn't just some advisor. He's the author behind Trump's most cruel, racist, and authoritarian politics. And he did it quietly, in a suit, all while pretending that it was about national security. You remember the Muslim ban? That was Miller. Family separation at the border? That was Miller. Trying to strip citizenship from immigrants legally living here? Yep, Miller. He's the reason zero tolerance became a government slogan. The man crafted policy like it was fan fiction for fascists. And you want to talk about connections? Stephen Miller was mentored by Richard Spencer, the actual white nationalist who coined the term alt-right. They went to Duke together, and Miller invited him to campus. Let that sink in. The dude writing U.S. immigration policy was once boosted by a literal neo-Nazi. And don't think he disappeared when Trump left the first time. He started a legal group called America First Legal, designed to sue the government every single time it tried to be decent. Trying to stop DEI programs? That's Miller. Attacking asylum protections? That's Miller. Lawsuits to block civil rights policies under the radar? Also Miller. And the scariest part is that he's not a loudmouth. He's a strategist. He's not tweeting insults. He's writing executive orders. He learned that power isn't about being liked. It's about embedding your ideology so deep within the system that even after you're gone, your fingerprints stay on the wall.
Stephen Miller is poised to make a fortune off of Trump's mass deportation agenda. According to Miller's brand new financial report, he bought between $100,000 and $250,000 in stock in Palantir, the surveillance tech company that's helping Trump carry out mass deportations. If you're not familiar, Palantir was created by right-wing billionaire Peter Thiel and named after the Seeing Stones in Lord of the Rings, which should piss off any Tolkien fan. Stephen Miller, Trump's chief Homeland Security advisor, bought the stock in Palantir after Trump left office, while he was still outlining Trump's mass deportation plan, and since then Palantir has raked in more than $900 million in government contracts. In fact, Palantir has become the top performing company on the S&P 500 in 2025, surging more than 80% this year alone. And just last month, the Trump administration tapped Palantir to build a massive database that will serve as a surveillance tool for the US government, storing our personal information, medical data, bank account numbers, and disability status. And we already know what Trump wants to do with it, use it to hunt down immigrants and punish his political enemies. That's why labor unions and civil rights groups have filed lawsuits to block it. Last month, more than a dozen former Palantir employees even signed an open letter to Silicon Valley urging them to resist the Trump administration's techno-authoritarian power grab. And here's the kicker. The guy helping design the policy behind Trump's mass surveillance state, Stephen Miller, stands to make a fortune off of it. Because who says that fascism can't be profitable?
I'm a man of faith, Stephen, and I'm certainly not a man of fear. So let's just cut to the chase. Let's not get it twisted. Your administration, this administration, and the people who support it are making history on changing who we are as a multicultural society. Folks like Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and Pam Bondi and others are showing us that they don't believe in the co-equal branches of government or the checks and balances within our society. And the people in the White House, in your little bubbles, you actually think that the aura of your chaos is sustainable. Think about it. Think about it. I want you to think about it. I mean, Trump is 80 years old, and you are in your mid-40s, and some of y'all are in your mid-50s. Y'all actually think, and that's young in the modern era, you actually think it's funny and entertaining for Fox News and other outlets to show how cruel you are, how incendiary you are to the American people. Oh yeah, let's just stick it to the libs. Okay, but think about the sustainability and all the wrongdoing that you're inflicting on the people. And you think that you're going to get away with this? I mean, in life, you always pay the piper, homie. Our history, or the world history, has shown this time and time and time again. You will not get away with what you're doing. The international community are watching us. Our kids are learning from us as the world look on in disgust. My message is this. Enjoy it now, Stephen Miller, because just as history has shown, a reckoning is coming and America is waking up, okay? And when they do, look out, partner. Last time I checked, you're definitely not Donald Trump's age. You know, always remember, truth has no party. Be well.
Put your phone down if you were worried about the stuff with Iran. Put your phone down because you are being swept up in propaganda. Because there isn't anything to be worried about. Nothing more than there was last week or 2 weeks ago. And what this is doing is zapping all your strength, your time, your mental energy, your nervous system for what we need to have saved for protests, for actually taking care of things that are happening here that do matter, like people being kidnapped off the streets. That's where our energy and focus needs to stay every single day. We have to figure out ways to stop this as soon as we can. And you guys focusing on something that is a nothing in the scheme of things is exactly what he wants you to do. It's exactly what Stephen Miller wants you to do. They don't want you around their ice guys because they're getting a lot of pushback. They don't like that. So they want you to worry about a war that's just a copy of another war that we saw before. In fact, 2 of them. The sleeper cells is propaganda that they used last time. It's a Bush-era tactic to make people afraid of the enemy within. And it manufactures more consent for when they want to do other stuff, and it gets people paranoid and scared and makes it feel like maybe we really should do something. But it makes all your focus go onto the news about Iran and what's going on with Iran that doesn't have a nuclear weapon to attack us with and couldn't if it did. Yeah, could they go after some bases over there? Yeah, but that's because we did something first. Does that impact you here? No. Are you stationed there? No. If you have a kid stationed there, then I understand that concern. But almost no one else does. They're not doing a draft. Would I get on a flight today and go somewhere on a vacation? I'd do it without a second thought. They're going to try and scare you about, be careful about flights, be careful about where you go, be careful, because they want you not thinking about what we need to be doing here. They don't want you thinking about the Gestapo and the goons kidnapping people. I told you starting a couple weeks ago, he has had the month up from hell. He's cratering. His party is splintering. Those leaders in there all have started their chess moves because they know there's blood in the water. He made an enormous mistake that he cannot take back. That's why you're seeing chess moves. That's why you're seeing all these leaders start coming out and being vocal. Tucker Carlson and even JD. Oh, we don't want a regime change. And all of a sudden Trump, well, why don't we want a regime change?
Guys like Stephen Miller think that we are all just really, really stupid, and he thinks that he can rewrite the entire U.S. Constitution to suit his agenda and to create an America that is far more authoritarian and far less democratic. Miller is missing a key point here in this tweet, and I think it's safe to say that it's intentional that he's missing this point. He doesn't want you to know the legislative history of both the 5th and 14th Amendments, which use the word person. They don't use the word citizen, and that's intentional because the framers behind both amendments wanted to create an America that was for all people, whether you were a citizen, whether you were an immigrant, whether you were just here visiting the United States as a tourist. If you were arrested here or you're facing any sort of like government scrutiny, you have the right to due process and basic fundamental rights that anybody that steps on American soil gets to enjoy. So no, the right to due process is not only applicable to citizens, but to all persons that step on American soil, and nothing that Stephen Miller can do or say will change any of that.
So Donald Trump allegedly said in a closed-door meeting that if it was up to Stephen Miller, this pouty gentleman right here, there'd only be 100 million people in this country, and they'd all look like Stephen Miller. So wouldn't that be horrible, ladies out there on the dating app, if this was your only option? Also, what is it with the Millers in there in DC being like horrible human beings? All right, let's go back to his younger days. Younger than when he was painting his hair on on national television. Just go bald, guys. Bald is beautiful. All right, let's go back to his younger days. First of all, he grew up in Santa Monica, California. You know, I lived in Culver City, a couple miles away. And one thing I did notice when I would go to Santa Monica, one, it was really nice place, lots of money. It just felt very white to me, very white. But so I noticed that as a white guy, I was like, wow, there's not a lot of diversity up here. But anyways, but it was a pretty area in general. Anyways, in high school, there's a video recently came out, you might have seen already, where he says, he's talking to a crowd. He says, am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? We have plenty of janitors who are paid to do this. So he was an entitled little turd. Now he's an entitled big turd. Well, he's still pretty little, but he's older. He's an older turd now. Now in high school, he did have a friend of Hispanic descent, but he ended that relationship. His name was Jason Islas, and he said, when he ended the friendship, he said, the conversation was remarkably calm. He expressed hatred for me in a calm, cool, matter-of-fact way.
When you try to see the story of this Stephen Miller and his biography, though he was born in America, but his parents was migrant. Now imagine to hear till death this man thinking this way, thinking that if he has power, he would only allow white people to stay in America. You have seen that video. He was saying our ancestors fought a lot to have this land. They lose their lives to get this land. We will not allow any migrant to come here. Those criminals, those gangsters. Just try to imagine. And you know very well your history, where you came from. Each and everything is there on Wikipedia, on internet. Now you are trying to spread hatred. You are trying to show American people that for you, you only consider one less. You don't want to hear anything else. You have seen since this mass deportation started, that's where a lot of people get to know this Stephen Miller, because he always came out on internet saying, keep deporting as many people as possible. We want America to be clean. We don't want all this undocumented migrant. A lot of people kept saying, why could you deport these people in this short manner? Why can't you take them in a smooth way? Where there is court cases, you wait for them, you wait the answer. Why are you brutal? Why are you unhuman? But when you try to hear his speech, he's always on point. He doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care what the public would say. He kept saying, let's keep enforced ICE so that they will deport at least 3,000 people a day, because what they are doing is not enough. Now see. And you are saying, according to you, you only want white people to occupy that land of America. You forget American history. You forget that America is a multi-languages land. You know how the first people discovered America, how there was other peoples there in those 400 years. You ignore each and everything. Now you are trying to hide the history. You are trying to paint in a way for you the way you want it to be. This is the people came out to vote, to put them in office, to bring America great again. Is this how people are going to live in this coming 4 years? If someone would come high profile like this and come to say something like this, you couldn't even think that these things may affect this new generation. But you don't care. You don't care at all. You don't care at all. You are deporting these Hispanic people in a brutal way. You are deporting Latino. You are going to take them from schools, from daycare, graduation day, in their farms where they work. You no longer have any empathy, sympathy on them. You want just to fulfill your project, your plans. But when you try to understand, some people came out to give testimony who grew up with this man. They try to say even the way he grew up, a lot of people has been fearing him. He was not that guy who is soft. You could go and talk anyhow you want. Now see the results. When you try to see what is really happening in America right now, you can't tell that is something normal. You have seen how recently in the Capitol, these crippled people got detained. They handcrafted them because they went there to protest the removing of Medicaid. But you have seen the photos. Each and everyone was surprised to see how you would come out to handcuff these crippled people, these disabled people. Why you handcuff them? They are protesting in a peaceful way. But for you, you don't want to see anything like that. You want to rule people the way you want it to be, not according to people's opinions. No, 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 no. Now see, a lot of people came out to cry, please, please. The way ICE is detaining people, it's not a human way. People need to know that we are human. We came in America. We came looking for life. We are paying taxes. Even if you no longer want us to stay here, just take us in a good way. Even if you want to deport, just take us in a good way. But nothing, no one ever wanted to hear something like this. No one ever even came out to say, we are going to talk with the ICE so that they could at least try to handle you in a good way. No, they keep saying, deport as many as you can. Deport them. We don't want them here. They should go back. Imagine if someone is in a courtroom, you are waiting. After they say we are rejecting, you immediately detain them. You don't even remember that they have a time to appeal for that decision. You don't want to hear something like that. Now, people are saying, no wonder we've been seeing this man pushing a lot this process of migration. We never knew that he have this agenda of the thinking that when we keep deport as many people as possible, we will only remain with the white people in American land. Who is going to work for you? Who is going to work in these farmers? Who is going to work in these factories without a migrant? Who is going to work in those restaurants, in your hotels? Who is going to work there? When you think that you want to keep America as a white land, who is going to teach in those schools? Sometimes I don't understand why they don't want to know that without a migrant, America can't function in that speed, in this level we are seeing it each and every day. Without them, everything is scattered. Guys, let me know what you think about this Stephen Miller. You know he's the architect of this project. Each and everything you are seeing happening right now, he's the man behind the scene. Drop your opinion in the comment section. Then see you in my next video.